Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode from DGMZ, diwan-e-ghalib-meri-zubaani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy that you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are glad that you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in. Now, this episode is part of the DGMZ Miniseries that we are currently running, first of its kind, dedicated to the immortal love story of Layla and Majnun. This will be the third episode in that series. We already have a detailed introduction episode and 2 episodes uploaded in the playlist. You can find this series either under the bonus playlist or under the Layla-e-Majnun Miniseries playlist. So if you were with me in the previous episode, you would know that we had finished chapter 7 from a book we are narrating from as part of this mini-series. So today we are going to start chapter 8. Now before I begin the narration from the book, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate Suluk Press Publishing House for allowing us to narrate from their book. The book is titled The Story of Layla and Majnun by Nizami, translated from the Persian and edited by Rudolph Gelpke. English version in collaboration with E. Matin and G. Hill. Final chapter translated from the Persian by Pir Zia Inayat Khan and Omid Safi. The description of this episode will have a link which you can use if you want to own a copy of this book. In addition to the link for the book, I will also put links to the Diwan-e-Ghalib podcast where we have covered Ghazals that have Layla and Majnun quoted in them by Ghalib for your reference. So, with that, let's get into the narration. Let me just get settled here. Okay. Start of narration. The story of Layla and Majnun. Chapter 8. The further away his moon, Layla, shone in the sky, the higher Majnun waved the banner of his love. As his mad passion grew day by day, so his repute declined among his friends. But as yet, his family, and above all his father, had not given up hope that his dark night might end and a new morning dawn. Once more, they took counsel, and having talked for a long time without result, their thoughts finally converged on the Kaaba, God's sanctuary in Mecca, visited every year by thousands and thousands of faithful pilgrims from near and far. Well, they said, could it not happen, after all, that the Almighty One would come to our aid, that the door for which we have no key would suddenly open? Is not the Kaaba the altar of heaven and earth, where the whole world prays for God's blessing and help? Why not we? Majnun's father, the old Sayyid, agreed. He prepared everything he thought necessary, and when the month of pilgrimage, the 12th and the last of the year had come, he left with a small caravan for the holy city. He had chosen his best camels for the journey, and for Majnu, the apple of his eye, he had secured a litter which carried the lovesick youth as gently as a moon's cradle. They reached Mecca safely. As he had done on the way, the leader of the tribe showered alms on the crowd like a dust storm which carries gold coins instead of sand. But a storm raged also in his breast, and the nearer they came to their goal, the more excited he became. Devoured by hope and impatience, he could hardly wait for the moment when he would be able to entrust his sorrow child to the grace of the Almighty. At last, the time had come. Father and son stood in the shadow and protection of the holiest of holies. Gently the Sayyid took the youth by the hand and said to him, "Here, my dearest son, every plague comes to its end. Try to find relief from your sufferings. Here, in front of this temple and its master, you must pray to be freed from your sorrow. Listen, this should be your prayer." Start of quotes. "Save me, my God, from this vain ecstasy. Have pity on me. Grant me refuge. Take my madness away and lead me back to the path of righteousness. I am love's unhappy victim. Help me. Free me from the evil of my love. Recite this prayer, my son." End of quotes. When Majnu heard his father speaking, he wept, then began to laugh. Suddenly, a strange thing happened. He darted forward like the head of a coiled snake, stretched out his hands towards the door of the temple, hammered against it, and shouted, "Yes, it is I who knocks at this door today. I have sold my life for love's sake. Yes, it is I. May I always be love's slave. They tell me, abandon love. That is the path to recovery. But I can gain strength only through love. If love dies, so shall I. My nature is love's pupil. Be my fate nothing if not love, and woe to the heart incapable of passion. I ask thee, my God, I beseech thee, in all the godliness of thy divine nature and all the perfection of thy kingdom, let my love grow stronger. Let it endure, even if I perish. Let me drink from this well. Let my eye never miss its light. If I am drunk with the wine of love, let me drink even more deeply. They tell me, crush the desire for Layla in your heart. But I implore thee, O my God, let it grow even stronger. Take what is left of my life and add it to Layla's. Let me never demand from her as much as a single hair, even if my pain reduces me to the width of one. Let her punish and castigate me. Her wine alone shall fill my cup, and my name shall never appear without her seal. My life shall be sacrificed for her beauty. My blood shall be spilled freely for her. And though I burn for her painfully, like a candle, none of my days shall ever be free of this pain. Let me love, O my God, love for love's sake, and make my love 100 times as great as it was and is. Such was Majnu's prayer to the Almighty. His father listened silently. What could he say? He knew now that he could not loosen the fetters binding this heart, could not find a cure for its ills. There was nothing to do but to leave Mecca and start on the trek home, where they were awaited impatiently in sorrow and fear. When they arrived, the whole family surrounded the Sayyid. How was it? They clamored. Tell us, has Allah helped? Is he saved? But the old man's eyes looked tired and sad. I have tried, he said. I have told him how to ask God for relief from this plague, this Layla. But he clung to his own ideas. What did he do? He cursed himself and blessed Layla. The story of Layla and Majnun, Chapter 9. The pilgrim to Mecca and the old Sayyid's vain attempt to heal his son's madness was talked about everywhere. Soon there was no tent whose inhabitants did not know about it. The story of Majnun's love was on everybody's lips. Some reproached him and jeered. Others pitied and tried to defend him. Many spread evil rumors. A few even spoke well of him sometimes. Bedouin gossip came also to Layla's ears. But what could she do about it? She remained silent, in secret grief. The members of her tribe, however angry and bitter, sent mounted emissaries to the caliph's prefect and laid a complaint against the youth. This madman, the two delegates said, imperils by his behavior the honor of our tribe. Day after day, he trails around the countryside, his hair disheveled, and a bunch of hooligans running after him like a pack of hounds loosed from their chains. Now he dances, now he kisses the soil. All the time he composes and recites his ghazals. And as unfortunately his verses are good and his voice pleasant, people learn these songs by heart. That is bad, both for you and for us, because whatever this impertinent fellow composes tears the veils of custom and decency 100-fold. Through him, Layla is branded with a hot iron, and if this perilous wind continues to blow, it will extinguish the lamp. Order, therefore, his punishment, so that Layla, our moon, may henceforth be safe from this plague. The caliph's prefect, having listened to their speech, drew his sword out of its sheath, showed it to the two emissaries, and replied, "Give your answer with this." By chance, a man from the tribe of Amir happened to overhear. What did he do? He went to the Sayyid and reported. Start of quotes. So far, nothing untoward has happened, he said. But I warn you, this prefect is out for blood. He is a raging torrent and a blazing fire. Seeing that Majnu does not know the danger threatening him, I am afraid that by the time he realizes it, it may be too late. We must warn him of this open well, lest he fall into it. End of quotes. That is how the informant spoke, and his words stung the father's wounded heart like salt. He feared for his son's life, but however anxiously they searched for him, he was not to be found. In the end, all the men sent out to trace him came back discouraged. Who knows, they said, perhaps his fate has already overtaken him. Perhaps wild animals have torn him to pieces, or even worse has happened to him. Whereupon the youth's kinsmen and companions raised wailings and lamentations as if they were mourning the dead. But Majnu was not dead. As before, he had gone to a hiding place in the wilderness. There he was living alone, a hidden treasure. He neither saw nor heard what was happening in the world. In that world, were they not all hunters and hunted? Did that still concern him? Had he not turned his back on it? Had he not troubles enough of his own? He did not want the pity of his fellow men. He suffered because he could not find the treasure for which he was searching. Yet his grief provided him with a free passage, liberating him from the fetters of selfishness. Now let us see what happened then. After a time, chance brought a Bedouin from the Saad tribe walking along the same path. When he saw the lonely figure crouching in solitude, he at first suspected a mirage, a fata morgana. Who else would keep his own shadow company in such a place? But when he heard a soft moaning, he went nearer and asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here? How can I help you?" However, often he repeated his questions, he received no answer. In the end, his patience became exhausted. He continued on his way, but when he arrived home, he told his family about the strange encounter. On my way through a mountain gorge, I met a creature writhing on the stones like a snake, like a madman in pain, like a lonely demon. His body was so wasted that every bone was visible. When Majnu's father heard about it, he set out at once to bring home his lost son from the wilderness. He reached the hiding place and found Majnu as the Bedouin had described him. Now talking to himself in verse, now moaning and sighing. He wept, stood up, and collapsed again. He crawled and stumbled, a living image of his own fate. He swooned and was hardly conscious, so that at first he did not recognize his own father. But then, when the Sayyid addressed and comforted him, the firmness of his voice brought Majnu back to himself. He collapsed at the old man's feet like a shadow and implored him in regret and despair. Start of quotes. Crown of my head and haven of my soul, forgive me, forgive. Do not ask how I am, because you can see that I am weak. I wish you had been spared the pain of finding me in this state. Now you have come, my face turns black with shame. Forgive me. You know only too well how things are with me, but you also know that it is not ourselves who hold fate's thread in our hands. End of quote. The story of Layla and Majnun, Chapter 10. The father tore the turban from his head and threw it to the ground. The day became as dark in his eyes as the night, and he raised a plaintive song like a bird at dusk. But then he summoned his courage and spoke. Rose petal, torn and crumpled. Love's fool, uncontrolled, immature, your heart burned. What evil eye has cast a spell over your beauty? Whose curse has blighted you? For whose blood must you do penance? Whose thorn has torn the hem of your robe? What has pushed you into this abyss? True, you are young, and youth has led many into confusion before, but not so deeply. Is your heart still not satiated with pain? Have you still not borne enough abuse and reproach? Will there be no resurrection for you on earth? Enough. You are destroying yourself with your passion, and me and my honor as well. If one day you hope to marry, such lack of self-control is a great fault. Even if we do not like to show our weakness to the world, we should have friends, genuine and true, like mirrors, clearly revealing our faults so that we can face and cure them. Let me be your mirror. Free your heart from this illness. Do not try any longer to forge a cold iron. Sadness in his voice, the old man continued. Perhaps you are not patient enough. You are persistent only in keeping away from me, your friend. You hardly look at me. But he who flees and keeps aloof remains alone with the longing of his heart. Do you not know that? You try to become drunk without wine. You worship desire for its own sake. You have fled and left the harvest to the wind. You have abandoned me to the gloating satisfaction of my enemies. Regain your senses before it is too late. Do not forget While you are playing the harp of your love, I am mourning for you. And when you are rending your garments asunder, you are tearing my soul. When your heart burns, you also burn mine. Do not despair. Some little thing, useless as it may appear to you, can bring salvation. Despair may lead to hope, just as night leads to dawn. If only you have faith. Look for the company of gay people. Do not flee from happiness. Bliss can undo all knots. It is the turquoise in the seal of God. It will come to you, only you must have patience. Let your happiness grow slowly. Even the mighty sea consists of single drops. Even the mountains, cloud high, of tiny grains of earth. And have you not all the time in the world? With patience, you can search at ease for the precious stone. Be prudent. The dumb fall behind, like the worm without feet. But the clever fox can overcome the stronger wolf. Why do you give your heart to a rose? She blossoms without you, while you remain in the mud. She has a heart of stone. Indeed, your heart is being stoned. Why? They who talk to you about Layla seek your shame and disgrace. They offer you parsley, which is poison, to a man stung by a scorpion. You must see that, my son. Give up. You are dearer to me than life itself. Come home and stay with us. Here in the mountains, only tears await you. You will find nothing but stones on this path and deep wells in which you will drown. Do not argue. Even the prefect is out to destroy you. And if you play with madness, you are forging an iron chain for yourself. Watch the sword, my child, drawn to smite you, and take care of your life while there is time. Make new friends, be gay, and laugh at the discomfort of your enemies. End of narration. I think, the story has evolved in these 3 chapters, and we can clearly see that Majnu is getting into this state very fast, from which there is no coming back. And the father can almost predict it, see it in his future. Okay, so just brief impressions of the 3 chapters we covered. So the chapter is chapter 8, right? Pilgrimage to Mecca. It almost seems that in this chapter we see another attempt, right, by a desperate father to save his beloved, precious son. And what does Majnu's father decide to do as part of this attempt? Well, Majnu's father decides to go to the father of one and all, the Almighty God. a God whose doors open for all in pain, people who have no hope, no cure, no respite, a God who can cure anything and everything, a God who, if prayed to with a clean, pure heart, will not let that prayer go unanswered. So, as a strategy, that was a good strategy. That was a good strategy by Majnun's father to go to the Almighty God with his request, and it is very heartwarming to see how Nizami captures this, right? Where Majnun's father says in this chapter, start of quotes, could it not happen, after all, that the Almighty One would come to our aid? That the door for which we have no key would suddenly open. End of quotes. And then we also see the father's love. I mean, Nizami, he has written this book so beautifully. Of course, no wonder it's a masterpiece, right? So he captures the father's love so beautifully when he writes, start of quotes, and for Majnu, the apple of his eye, he had secured a litter which carried the lovesick youth as gently as a moon's cradle. End of quote. And then lastly, we see Nizami capturing the hope of a father, right? When he writes, start of quotes, devoured by hope and impatience, he could hardly wait for the moment when he would be able to entrust his sorrow child to the grace of the Almighty. End of quotes. So just single sentences, two sentences, and yet the emotion from the father's end so beautifully captured. But then this is not the biggest highlight of the chapter. In my humble opinion, the biggest highlight of the chapter are those two prayers. The first prayer, which the father, Majnu's father, asks him, requests him, guides him to pray at Mecca. And then, of course, the second prayer, which Majnu actually prays in Kaaba, Mecca. And we should go through that prayer one more time, because it gives us a lot of clues for the next chapter. So this is how Majnu prays when he's standing in Kaaba, God's sanctuary in Mecca. Start of quotes. Yes, it is I who knocks at this door today. I have sold my life for love's sake. They tell me, abandon love. That is the path to recovery. But I can gain strength only through love. If love dies, so shall I. My nature is love's pupil. Be my fate nothing if not love. And woe to the heart incapable of passion. I ask thee, my God, I beseech thee, in all the godliness of thy divine nature and all the perfection of thy kingdom, let my love grow stronger. Let it endure, even if I perish. Let me drink from this well. Let my eye never miss its light. If I am drunk with the wine of love, let me drink even more deeply. They tell me, crush the desire for Layla in your heart. But I implore thee, O my God, let it grow even stronger. Take what is left of my life and add it to Layla's. Let me never demand from her as much as a single hair, even if my pain reduces me to the width of one. Let her punish and castigate me. Her wine alone shall fill my cup, and my name shall never appear without her seal. My life shall be sacrificed for her beauty. My blood shall be spilled freely for her. And though I burn for her painfully, like a candle, none of my days shall ever be free of this pain. Let me love, O my God, love for love's sake, and make my love 100 times as great as it was and as is. And it's just, the prayer is like a poem. The prayer is like a poem. The prayer wrenches at your heart. The prayer shows the laser focus of Majnu. And man, it must have been difficult. How can you be so unshakable about something that everybody who hates you, everybody who loves you, everybody who cares for you, everybody is discouraging you from? All by himself, not even a single ounce of strength left in his body, but the soul, the grip of the soul on the conviction he had of his love for Layla. My God, nothing stronger could one witness. It is more stronger because of the weakness surrounding him, the pull from every side to just give up, leave it, let it be. It is enough. And the prayer is like Majnu is standing in the house of God and he is laser focused, so clear about how he wants nothing except to be allowed to love Layla till he is annihilated. फना, जब तक फना नहीं हो जाता लैला पे, तब तक बस एक चीज़ करने की उसको इजाज़त चाहिए, एक चीज़ करने की उसकी ख्वाहिश है, लैला से मोहब्बत. और उसको लैला से भी कुछ नहीं चाहिए, अब तो कुछ नहीं चाहिए. He says, let me never demand from her as much as a single hair. एक बाल नहीं चाहिए मुझे उसका. Even if my pain reduces me to the width of one. गर्चे मेरा दर्द, मेरी तकलीफ मुझे बाल बराबर कर दे, इतना मुझे ख़त्म कर दे, इतना मुझे वेस्ट कर दे, तो भी मैं उससे एक बाल ना मांगू. ये कर दे तू खुदा, ये कर दे. एंड देन कितनी इंटरेस्टिंगली मजनू's फादर, जब वो लोग मक्का से वापस आते हैं, तो देखिए मजनू के फादर उसकी प्रेयर को कैसे समराइज करते हैं अपने फैमिली के लिए. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. Start of quotes. He cursed himself and blessed Layla. End of quotes. This is the father's summary of the prayer that Majnu did standing in Kaaba at Mecca, the house of God. Amazing, amazing. Moving on to chapter 9, right? Now, there are some interesting parts in chapter 9 which I want to read first and then share the impression around them. So here are the 3 sentences. Number 1. The story of Majnu's love was on everybody's lips. Number 2. And as unfortunately his verses are good and his voice pleasant, people learn these songs by heart. And number 3, whatever this impertinent fellow composes tears the veils of custom and decency 100-fold. Through him, Layla is branded with a hot iron. And when you read these parts, one feels as if the prayer from the previous chapter starts getting answered in this chapter. यही तो मांगा था ना वहाँ खड़े होके मजनू ने. यही मांगा था कि पहली बात तो मेरा नाम कभी उसके बिना आए ना आप. अब कभी भी अगर मजनू का नाम लिया जाए या खुदा, उस नाम के साथ लैला का नाम होना चाहिए. I do not want to be mentioned ever without her being mentioned with me. And then, unfortunately, his verses are good, voice pleasant. People learn these songs by heart. तो वो हेट करते रहें, पर जहाँ मजनू अपना हार्ट पोर करने लगता था, अपनी गज़लें रिसाइट करने लगता था, वहाँ वही लोग जो कि उसको हेट करते थे या उसको स्कॉन करते थे या उसको डिस्करेज करते थे, वही लोग उसकी ये गज़लें बाय हार्ट याद करते थे. एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स दिस इज़ इन माय humble opinion like this upsetting the status quo type of a statement, right? Whatever this impertinent fellow composes tears the veils of custom and decency 100-fold. कितना ज़्यादा एंक्शियस हो जाते हैं सब लोग, राइट? जब मजनू अपनी दिल की बातें कहने लगता है, कितना ज़्यादा उनके वो जो बनाए हुए सिस्टम्स एंड रेगुलेशंस और ये सब है कि हिलने लगते हैं. मजनू इज़ शेकिंग द पावर्स टू बी. एंड देन लास्टली, थ्रू हिम लैला इज़ ब्रांडेड विद अ हॉट आयरन. तो मजनू का नाम तो कभी लैला के बिना लिया नहीं जाएगा, लैला का भी नाम कभी मजनू के बिना नहीं लिया जाएगा. एंड ये सब डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट कि जब बच्चे थे तो उनको सेपरेट कर दिया था. ये इम्पैक्ट, ये इन्फ्लुएंस, जान नहीं है उसमें, उसकी फिजिकल बॉडी में, बट देखिए क्या क्या कर रहा है, क्या दुआ मांग के आया था. ऐसा लगता है दुआ ऑलरेडी कबूल होना चालू हो जाती है. एंड देन ऑल्सो इन चैप्टर 9 एक बहुत डिटेल में, राइट, निज़ामी ने कैस का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन इनटू मजनू बहुत प्यारी तरह कैप्चर किया है. एंड देन फिर मजनू का वो जो पर्सोना है, वो जो उसकी इमेज है, उसका एवोल्यूशन, क्योंकि इमेज और स्ट्रॉन्ग होती चली जाती है. आयरॉनिकली जैसे जैसे वो और वीक होता जाता है फिज़िकली, उसकी जो इमेज है, उसका जो इम्पैक्ट है, उसका जो एरिया ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस है, वो और स्ट्रॉन्ग और शार्प और इन कंट्रास्ट आता चला जाता है, राइट. एंड इस चैप्टर में बहुत प्यारी तरह निज़ामी ने कैप्चर किया है इस एवोल्यूशन को. स्टार्ट ऑफ कोट्स, आई मेट अ क्रीचर writhing on the stone like a snake, like a madman in pain, like a lonely demon. His body was so wasted that every bone was visible. End of quote. So एवोल्यूशन हो रहा है मजनू की इमेज का. जैसे जैसे शरीर जवाब दे रहा है, जैसे जैसे उसकी फिज़िकल फैकल्टीज़ जवाब दे रही हैं, वैसे वैसे वो जो टिपिकल मजनू की पिक्चर है विच वी आर यूज्ड टू इन पेंटिंग्स एंड बुक्स एंड इलस्ट्रेशंस, वो उभर रही है और ज़्यादा शार्प होती चली जा रही है, राइट. एंड टॉकिंग ऑफ पेंटिंग्स, just a reminder that we did post an episode with some of the famous Layla-e-Majnun paintings, और उनमें एक पेंटिंग है जहाँ पे मजनू is shown as a skeletal youth sitting in wilderness. You can make out the rib cage and every bone, मतलब बिल्कुल emaciated. And then lastly, another very heartwarming portion from the chapter, right, जहाँ मजनू begs for forgiveness from his father in shame and in pain, right. डैड ढूंढते ढूंढते आ गए और अब कॉन्फ्रंटेशन होगा उनसे, बात होगी उनसे. एंड किस तरह से मजनू अपने डैड से बात करता है, जब मतलब पहले तो पहचान ही नहीं पाता है, इतना ज़्यादा उसकी फैकल्टीज़ वीक हैं, बट जब पहचानता है, दिस इज़ व्हाट ही सेज टू हिज फादर. स्टार्ट ऑफ कोट्स, क्राउन ऑफ माई हेड and heaven of my soul, forgive me. Forgive. Do not ask how I am, because you can see that I am weak. I wish you had been spared the pain of finding me in this state. Now you have come. My face turns black with shame. Forgive me. You know only too well how things are with me. But you also know that it is not ourselves who hold fate's thread in our hands. End of quotes. And यहाँ पर आपको एक किस्म से मजनू का विजडम दिखता है जो कि डैड में नहीं है. And yes, that is a slightly controversial statement to make. But what I'm trying to say here is that Majnu in his wisdom has already come to a stage where he realizes कि बात उसके हाथ में नहीं है. उसका इस प्यार पे और इस प्यार के लिए जो वो प्राइस पे करेगा उस पे उसका कोई हक नहीं है, मतलब कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. ये तो फेटेड है, ये तो डेस्टिन्ड है, ये तो हो के रहेगा. और अगर किसी हाइपोथेटिकल सिनारियो में मजनू का इस सिचुएशन पे कोई कंट्रोल होता तो वो यही करता. दोनों सूरतों में मजनू वुड हैव गॉन अहेड एंड फॉलोड हिज हार्ट, followed his love to the ends of the earth. So मजनू को ये बात समझ में आ गई है कि दो लोग अज्यूम कर रहे हैं कि मजनू कैन टर्न अराउंड एंड कम बैक, मजनू कैन सेव हिमसेल्फ, मजनू कैन स्टिल मेक अ चॉइस टू गिव अप लैला. मजनू in his wisdom knows that choice was never his to begin with. एंड बड़ी प्यारी तरह वो अपने डैड को बोलता है कि बट यू ऑल्सो नो दैट इट इज़ नॉट अवर सेल्व्स हु होल्ड फेट्स थ्रेड इन आवर हैंड. अगर किस्मत ही अपने हाथ में होती तो मैं तो लैला को मांग लेता. अगर मैं किस्मत को ही इम्पैक्ट कर पाता तो मैं लैला को मांग लेता. एंड डैड ऑन द अदर हैंड स्टिल बिलीव्स दैट द choice, the power to choose, the power to change resides with him and Majnu. Dad still believes that this is a personal choice which can be changed, which can be overturned. So, उस पर्सपेक्टिव से मैंने बोला कि we get to see मजनूज़ विजडम. अपने डैड को समझाने की कोशिश करता है. हम लोगों ने गालिब की गज़ल में भी कई बार वो जो नासे वाली गज़ल हम लोग अभी कवर किया था, उसमें भी यही हो जाता है ना. समझाने वाले जो एडवाइज़र्स आते हैं उनको पता ही नहीं है किस लेवल पे ये बात हो रही है, किस लेवल पे ये हेल्पलेसनेस है, किस लेवल पे ये नीड है लवर की. वो फिर भी एडवाइस देते हैं, ये अज्यूम करते हैं कि लवर के पास ये चॉइस है दैट ही कैन टर्न अराउंड, टर्न बैक. बट द लवर नोज दैट ही क्रॉस द पॉइंट ऑफ नो रिटर्न डे वन. द चॉइस वॉज नेवर हिज. Once fallen in love, the choice is over. There is no choice to be made. And then in the last chapter, chapter 10, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful dialogue between a father and a son. And Nizami has written it so beautifully. किस तरह से हम लोग जैसे मान के ही चलते हैं कि आइडियल पेरेंट्स या जो सक्सेसफुल पेरेंट्स होते हैं, वन ऑफ द कीज टू सक्सेस to parenthood probably lies in the fact that you can be friends to your children. Your children consider you as your friends, as their friends. My bad, as their friends. So एक प्यारा और डायनेमिक और वाइब्रेंट पेरेंट चाइल्ड रिलेशनशिप यूजली वहाँ पाया जाता है जहाँ पेरेंट्स और बच्चों के बीच में एक दोस्ती होती है. The relationship is not only about power and control and that of a provider, etc. The relationship might start like that, but quickly evolves into a friendship, a camaraderie. And यहाँ पे इतनी प्यारी तरह मजनू के फादर मजनू को कोक्स कर रहे हैं कि मुझे बाप मत समझो, मैं तुम्हारा दोस्त हूँ। ये मत समझो कि मैं यहाँ पर तुमको कुछ ऐसा कहने आया हूँ जिससे तुम्हारा नुकसान होगा। मैं तुम्हारा दोस्त हूँ। मैं यहाँ पर इस मारे नहीं आया हूँ कि मेरा बच्चा मुझसे छिन गया, मुझे मेरा बच्चा वापस चाहिए, वो मैंने छोड़ दिया है। इस वक्त मैं तुमसे एक दोस्त की तरह बात कर रहा हूँ। हाँ, बहुत सारे लोग तुम्हारे पास आते होंगे और तुमको सलाहें देने की कोशिश करते होंगे। बहुत बार लोगों ने, इंक्लूडिंग मी, तुम्हें ऐसी बातें कही होंगी जहाँ उनके सेल्फिश इंटरेस्ट थे, पर मैं तुमसे आज दोस्त की तरह बात कर रहा हूँ। मेरी बात सुनो, मेरी बात समझो, इसमें तुम्हारी भलाई है। मैं कुछ ऐसा नहीं कह रहा हूँ जिससे तुम्हें नुकसान होगा। इस बात का विश्वास करो मुझ पे। एंड ही रिमाइंड्स मजनू, पहले तो ही रिमाइंड्स मजनू दैट द फादर हर्ट्स विद द सन। मजनू को अब यहाँ पे बाप का विजडम दिख रहा है। यहाँ पे बाप का विजडम दिख रहा है कि मजनू को समझाने की कोशिश करता है, इस धोखे में मत रहना कि ये दर्द सिर्फ तुम्हारा है। इस धोखे में मत रहना कि ये तकलीफ सिर्फ तुम्हारी है। इस धोखे में मत रहना कि तुम यहाँ पे गुफा में, विल्डरनेस में, डेजर्ट में बैठे हो तो किसी को पता नहीं चलता, किसी को फील नहीं होता। And this is what he says to his son, start of quotes. Do not forget, do not forget, while you are playing the harp of your love, I am mourning for you. And when you are rending your garments asunder, you are tearing my soul. When your heart burns, you also burn mine. End of quote. मजनू को समझाने की कोशिश करता है कि बेटा, ये सिर्फ आपकी बात नहीं है। जब आप इस शरीर को तकलीफ़ पहुंचाते हो, जब आप इस रूह को तकलीफ़ पहुंचाते हो अपनी, जब आप अपने दिल को जलाते हो, तो पैरेलल में, साथ में मेरा शरीर भी झेलता है, मेरा दिल भी जलता है, मेरी रूह भी। तुम कपड़ा फाड़ते हो, मेरी रूह फटती है। तुम तकलीफ़ में जब अपना कपड़ा फाड़ते हो तो मेरी रूह फटती है। एंड ऐसा नहीं कि मजनू को ये बात पता नहीं थी। आप अगर वो जो हम लोगों ने अभी उसका फॉरगिवनेस वाला पढ़ा पार्ट, ही न्यू हाउ मच ही वॉज हर्टिंग हिज फादर। ये प्रेशियस चाइल्ड था हैं, ये वो था जिसके लिए इतनी मन्नतें और दुआएं मांगी थी। और आज ये हाल है कि इंसान भी कहना मुश्किल है। वो बिडोइन से, वो साद ट्राइब से जो बंदा आया था, वो कह के चला गया, ऐसा लग रहा था एज इफ अ स्नेक वॉज राइडिंग ऑन द स्टोन, ऑन द रॉक्स। ये हाल हो गया। एंड देन जब मजनू को समझाने की कोशिश करते हैं, उसको बताने की कोशिश करते हैं कि तेरी अकेले की तकलीफ नहीं है, तू सिर्फ अकेले अपने को नहीं मार रहा है, तो वहाँ पे वो बात आ जाती है ना समझ में कि चिल्ड्रन आर पार्ट ऑफ द बॉडी एंड सोल ऑफ पेरेंट्स। बच्चे के तो छोटी सी खराश आ जाए तो माँ बाप की जान निकल जाती। ये हाल देख के क्या हुआ होगा। एंड हर कोशिश के बावजूद जब उनको पता चल जाता है कि अब वो मान के चल रहे हैं कि भाई मजनू अपना डिसीजन नहीं बदलेगा। फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर है कि मजनू के हाथ में बात ही नहीं है। बट वट एवर द केस माइट बी, जब बाप को ये बात समझ में आ जाती है कि नहीं बदलेगा, तो बाप फिर दिल पे पत्थर रख के, ऐसा लगता है दिल पे पत्थर रख के प्रिडिक्ट करता है फ्यूचर अपने बेटे का, कि अगर you do not change your ways, this is what I see for you in the future. वो भी अपने आप में कितना बड़ा पहाड़ दिल पे रखना पड़ा होगा ये फ्यूचर प्रिडिक्ट करने के लिए अपने बेटे के लिए. So this is what the father says to the son. Start of quotes. You are dearer to me than life itself. Here in the mountains, only tears await you. You will find nothing but stones on this path and deep wells in which you will drown. End of quotes. डरा नहीं रहा है, उसको पता है मजनू को कोई डरा नहीं सकता. डरा नहीं रहा है, दिल पे पत्थर रख के मजनू को एक फ्यूचर की पिक्चर दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि अगर नहीं बदला तुमने अपना ये तरीका, अपना डिसीजन रीथिंक नहीं किया, मेरे साथ वापस नहीं आए, तो बेटा दिस इज़ व्हाट आई सी इन योर फ्यूचर. This is what I see in your future, which is just pain and sorrow and defeat and just, जिसे कहते हैं ना, wasting away to infinity. Heart-wrenching and beautifully written. Well, that brings us to the end of the impressions for the chapters we covered. So, today we covered, let me tell you. Today we covered chapter 8, Pilgrimage to Mecca. Chapter 9, Majnu lost in the wilderness. And chapter 10, the Sayyid admonishes his son. In the next episode, we will pick up from chapter 11. I hope you guys enjoyed the narration and the brief impression that followed thereafter. Let us know what you thought about the episode. If you liked it, please click like, share your comments, share your feedback. It is always a delight to hear from you. And we can close the episode now. Let me send a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.